Hey, welcome aboard. The studio tour is turning 60 years old at Universal Studios Hollywood, and for this video we're going to do something a little different. We don't normally narrate long videos like this, but because the studio tour is an hour-plus experience, we wanted to kind of just pop in here and there to give you a little bit of context because we're not going to show the entire experience. So what we're looking at here is one of several multimedia packages that have been put together to look back at 6 decades of the studio tour. You'll find a bunch of these in the queue, and your tour guide will also pull up a bunch during the tour. Plus, throughout the entire tour you might spot little nods here and there to the 60th anniversary. Okay, before we hop on the tram, we wanted to take a moment to pause and just admire this mural that was created by artist Hayden Evans. You might have seen some more of his art at the beginning of this video. It's also being used across the main entrance marquee. It's a really fun, clean, artistic style taking a look back at 60 years of the studio tour. Okay, now we can get on the trams, but first we gotta take the escalator. A bunch, but not all, of the studio tour trams have been given a makeover to feature a fun throwback to the original design of the Gnlamor Trams of the 1960s. Alright, sit back, relax, I'm gonna shut up, and now here's some of the highlights for the 60th anniversary studio tour.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Fallon. Welcome aboard the world-famous studio tour. I know what you're thinking. Why the trams? Well, we're celebrating our 60th anniversary. That's right, 60 years of glitz, glamour, and our own great white shark. As we celebrate our diamond anniversary today, we'll pay tribute to Universal's past and take you behind the scenes to discover why this studio tour is world famous. So whether this is your first visit or your 60th, get ready for fun, excitement, and an experience like no other.
15, our founder, Carl Lemley, invited the public into the studio to watch silent movies being made. Guests could walk from set to set and marvel at the new technology involved in filmmaking. But with the invention of sound and the need for quiet on set, the original walking tour ended. In the 1960s, under the leadership of company chairman Lou Wasserman and executives Al Dorskin and Jay Stein, the idea of reviving a tour of the studio returned when the Gray Line bus tours made a stop at our gates. And on July 15, 1964, the first of our red and white candy-striped Gnlamor Trams took 67 passengers on a 2-hour driving tour of the Universal lot, and the world-famous studio tour was born. We started with 2 drivers, 2 guides, and 1 ticket seller working out of a trailer in Lancashire Boulevard. From there, the studio tour expanded with fantastic one-of-kind Hollywood elements like the rock slide and the burning house, which were in this area of the lot back in the 1970s and 80s.
Alright, once you get to the bottom of the hill, you're on the front lot. Here's a little bit about him.
Leaving the theme park behind and entering the front lot where real Hollywood magic is made. How? Well, inside the sound stages that surrounds us, we can create any kind of environment the script demands. For the past 60 years, studio tour visitors have driven right by these buildings, and inside these walls, the sets from your favorite TV shows and movies have transported audiences anywhere the imagination can take you. Even to a palatial mansion in Bel Air. When we filmed Bel Air, we love coming out of the sound stages and seeing the trams filled with excited guests as they drive by. So, keep an eye out. You never know who or what you'll see on the studio tour.
From the sound stages, we go to the production bungalows.
Smell the laundry.
In the early days of the studio, these bungalows were used as dressing rooms to the stars of Hollywood's golden age. Now, they're used as offices where some of Hollywood's top directors, writers, and producers work their magic to get a production ready, including my company, Illumination. At Illumination, we've made some of the most successful animated films in box office history, including Despicable Me, The Lorax, The Secret Life of Pets, Minions, Sing, The Grinch, and the Super Mario Brothers movie. And the team is hard at work again as we launch our next film, Despicable Me 4.
Hello, everybody. There's my boy. I know you love your dada. Go on, say it.
Yes, of course he loves you. He just doesn't show it on his face or with his body language.
We've had some really good sequences in Despicable Me movies. The heist of Holly Badger is now officially my favorite. What it comes down to is the emotional through line, and I believe that that's why these movies have stayed in people's hearts.
Alright, this has been a lot of video clips so far. We've got a couple more, but then we're going to get into the good stuff.
To the back lot, where we have exterior sets for many outdoor scenes. Over the last 60 years, studio tour guests have seen these locations turned into big cities, quiet suburbs, even that guy's hometown. Yeah, that guy. For countless movies and TV shows. This is Universal's Metro sets.
And self-action. Did you know
The Metro sets were once the home to Hollywood's biggest star. Right here is where the original studio tour King Kong attraction resided from 1986 until 2008. He stood 30 feet tall and weighed in at 13,000 pounds. Over the years, millions of guests got to meet King Kong face to face as he shook the tram. So close you could feel his hot banana breath. Is that it? I believe that's my last line, and then the tram moves on to the next thing.
Sure does.
The collapsing bridge was a mechanical effect that trams used to cross. The hydraulic support beams would split and the bridge would seem to collapse. The runaway train was originally located in our western sets. It used to hurtle toward the tram and come to a screeching halt. Both are retired effects made for the studio tour 50 years ago.
Okay, so as we move on here, we're going to take a look at the train here and that old collapsing bridge. This was a really great effect from back in the days that unfortunately isn't working anymore. Now, on the next part of the tour, it is King Kong 3D, which we're going to skip over for this video.
Welcome to the Courthouse Square. These sets were used to create Hill Valley in the Back to the Future films.
They represented multiple time periods, 1985, 1955, and the far, far distant future, 2015. To this day, this is one of the most popular sets on the Universal Studio Tour.
We had a lot of fun making those films here on the lot. I wonder what it'd be like to go back to those days. If only we had a time machine.
Everybody, do you think we can get this tram up to 88 miles per hour? See you in the future.
And there's Doc Bown, and that clock tower is where Dark Horse is the bolt of lightning that sent Marty McFly back to the future.
อันนี้ก็คือ Back to the Future เนี่ยเดี๋ยวจะรอดูสิ MS Brown.
21 gigawatts right inside the flux capacitor, hitting the time machine, sending it 88 miles per hour and directly into the future. And now we're all here together at this precise time and location. Must mean we're celebrating. Right, Scott, 60 years, is that right? Yeah. 60 years, and now you are all here, a part of that history. That's right, give it up for yourselves.
Alright, so I guess we shouldn't disturb the space-time continuum for too long, so we're going to say goodbye to Doc for now.
We added the parting of the Red Seas to the studio tour. Inspired by the classic film The Ten Commandments and Paramount Picture, the star of the film, Carlton Heston, made an appearance to part the waters for our guests. The Gnlamor Trams seemed to drive through the lake, giving everyone on board a sea-level view. There's also been exploding water mines, torpedoes, and problem submarines as part of the action on the lake.
Now on that theme of getting wet, Al Roker's going to take us into Flash Flood.
Welcome to the only part of the back run with a 100% chance of rain.
Alright, now from here we're going to move into the 6 Points, Texas Old Western sets. Now we're not going to show the sets in this video, but you can see here in this new montage that they created, there's a bunch of films that have filmed here over the years. Alright, and as we move out of the old westerns, we're going to move into old Europe. A lot of the Universal monster movies were filmed here over the years, but we'll let our tour guide tell you the rest.
Now, Maybe you never watched The Good Place. No worries, maybe you're one of my Disney fans on board the tour and you recognize this location as Genovia from Princess Diaries 2, a royal engagement. It's where they held the princess parade for the royal wedding. This area was also featured, if you remember, in the late 90s. Disney did a revamped version of Cinderella starring Brandy, Whitney Houston, Whoopi Goldberg. They used our town center area for that production. And then Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean, they filmed a whole bunch of scenes out here as well. But again, what this area is really well known for, those classic monster films. In fact,
Alright, this is such a classic part of the studio tour. I love this. The conceit here is that you're going to be going into a hot set. We're going to get a sneak peek at a new movie that's being filmed here. But actually, well, just watch.
Because it can get a little bumpy. Driving on through, got some of the lighting all set up there. But at this point, I have not seen anything yet. The young ones making this point today, but we'll hang tight here for just a few moments until they're all set. Ready? We'll have a couple people come out and chat with us for a moment or two. Okay, yeah, subway scene in San Francisco. Right, it's the new post-watch and right-hand side. Okay, they don't worry about folks just from our California tremors. You know, we get the
Loved this as a kid, and I loved seeing the set reset itself as you were driving on out. Okay, now that was a lot of water, but I think we can find even a little bit more.
We also have a police diver out here today. His name is George. When we bring the trams through, George tries his best to put together like a little reenactment of a scene from the movie. So we'll have to see. Oh, okay, good. The music's starting. Let's see how George does today.
Next up, we've got Colonial Street.
So call it Anywhere USA. That's because it looks like we can pick it up and put it wherever we want in the United States, and it would look like it would fit to keep it as lovely as it is now for a West Coast spring and summer, or add some fall foliage in the trees, snow on the ground, pumpkins on the front stoop, and that's perfect for a West Coast spring and summer. And I've taken you across the country in just one neighborhood. Now this neighborhood is also known as Wisteria Lane from ABC's Desperate Housewives. At the end of season 1, the neighborhood ended here with this gray and white house on the left. But then seasons got added, gossip got juicier. They really wanted to round out the neighborhood, making it feel like you were dropped in the cul-de-sac. So what's more suburban than that? Now, this cul-de-sac has been seen in a few movies, or excuse me, a few commercials lately. For a Wayfarer commercial starring Titus Burgess of The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt on Netflix, and also a Broadway star from The Little Mermaid on Broadway and the revival of Guys and Dolls. So they did a little commercial in this cul-de-sac area. This neighborhood has also been seen in commercials for Beyonce, which released during the Super Bowl of this year, and for State Farm. But if you've seen the show Never Have I Ever, you've seen this neighborhood quite a bit, especially the yellow and green house over on the right. That's Devi Vishwakumar's house. She's played by Maitreyi Ramakrishnan, the lead character of that show. All 4 seasons can now be streamed on Netflix. This neighborhood is also used in the show Ted. It was in one of my favorite TV shows of all time, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, in seasons 4 through 7. It makes its first appearance in a season 4 episode called Hush. It's an Emmy-nominated episode starring the amazing character actor Doug Jones, playing one of the gentlemen who floats down the street looking for unsuspecting victims. Now, from Colonial Street to Lion Estates, you may remember that Lion Estates is where Marty McFly lived in the Back to the Future trilogy. Live in the home of tomorrow, today. Those signs are replicas of the original props made for the 30th anniversary of the first film. One of the executive producers of Back to the Future was Steven Spielberg. Right now, we are on Steven Spielberg Drive, which is appropriate because of our long relationship with the Academy Award-winning director. You could say it goes all the way back to the earliest days of the studio tour.
My entire career began with my relationship with Universal Studios just as a high school kid on a tour bus. Remember, in those days there weren't trams, there were buses called the Gray Line Tour Bus. And I was so excited and thrilled to be on the lot. It was my first time ever on a movie studio lot. And during a bathroom break, I hid in the bathroom. And when everybody left to get back on the bus, I waited another 15 minutes until I'm sure the bus left. And then I had the entire lot to myself that day. And in those days, movie lots were so crowded because all movies were made on film lots. Today they're made all over the world, on locations, but most of it was focused in those days, in the 60s, on the film lots. So nobody noticed me when I was going around from soundstage to soundstage. And I really felt, in my own young way, I owned the lot and had the most amazing day of my life.
Alright, so as we make our way past this replica of the Hollywood sign, we're going to head into the final act of the studio tour. Now, if you've done the studio tour before, you might be noticing this direction that the tram is heading is actually in reverse. We're actually heading down into the Bates Motel from the Psycho House instead of the other way around. Now, this is actually a really cool addition just for the 60th anniversary. Back in the day, there was actually a portion of the tram where you would get off the tram and then resume later, and they've sort of recreated that here at the Bates Motel. You can always stay on the tram if you don't want to get off, but there's some really cool things that you might want to check out. Now, it's important to keep in mind you're not going to be getting back on this same tram, so you're going to have to take everything with you, but you can see here there's a bunch of props set up. There's an original Gnlamor Tram, and as you make your way up the walkway, there's a couple of photo ops and things that you can take advantage of as well. Alright, so you can see as we make our way past the Bates Motel sign here, there's still a bunch of those prop set dressings, things that you can look at from actual movie production. You've got your Hollywood sign photo op there on the left, and then as we move forward, you can stop and actually take a picture here with the car as well for the Bates Motel. And you might just see Norman. There he is. Let's take a look.
Usually they don't have guests waiting around. They're very quick to check out.
Yeah. I can tell.
Don't tell me we get a bad reputation.
Okay, so that has to be just my favorite part of this expansion, because usually you can only get to see and talk to Norman at Halloween Horror Nights, and that's more of a photo op, so you don't really get to interact with Norman like you do here. Anyway, you can see you can get a full 180 view of that original Gnlamor Tram from back in the 60s, and then as we make our way back through the motel here, you can see they actually sliced out a piece of the original hotel, and it's now a walkway to go back to this immersive photo op area. So as you wind around, you're going to find a bunch of different photo ops. Here we have some of the original cars using the production of Dr. Seuss' How the Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey. There's a couple of different makeshift photo photo ops here and even some nice shade coverings, which is actually really cool. There's also some Mr. fans. It does get really hot in this area. Alright, so as we make our way through the different photo ops here, you can see there's one for Jaws. It's really cool having this photo op back in the parks. You can also snap a picture with some of these cars from the Fast and Furious movies. And then as you make your way back around, there's one more to put yourself in the clutches of King Kong. The studio tour finishes by going through Nope and Fast and Furious Supercharged.
When I was 12 years old, feeling this feeling of wonder. I mean, one of my first trips at Universal Studios, seeing the Jaws ride. One of my favorite movies of all time. Just feeling like, that's him. That's the Jaws. Like, I don't even know if that is the Jaws. I hope it is. Sharing a space with Hitchcock and Spielberg, I couldn't be more proud.
And then it all ends with the final word from Jimmy.
I hope that you had a great time today. And on behalf of everyone at NBC Universal, thank you for joining us and to celebrate our diamond anniversary. Here's to another 60 years.
Alright, and then the last bit of retro throwback is this really cool postcard photo op. Did you go? What did you think? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and follow for more mouse info.